Hello and welcome to today's episode of the BAMcast. I'm your host, Baker Shields, and it is my goal to help you to learn, grow, and evolve by any means necessary. Today we have a special guest, a girl that I've known for a really long time, founder and owner of CharCharms, Charlotte Trecartin. Charlotte has created this brand that is a water bottle accessory company that she has scaled into Dick's Sporting Goods, into Urban Outfitters, and beyond. She just bought her first warehouse. Super young, doing a lot of really cool things. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. Expect to learn a little bit more about her story, about how she utilizes social media to scale her brand and what the early stages looked like versus what she recommends people do now. So if you're somebody looking to get into social media, she's got some really great advice, especially towards the end of this episode on how to do so. And then just a lot of what she's done to just grow on purpose, which we talk a lot about inside this episode as well. Hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. Without further ado, let's talk to Charlotte. All right, Charlotte, what's up?
Hello, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I am so excited. So you and I always start off the episodes, especially because like right now, like I know most of the guests or at least have some sort of history of like meeting them before. I always start out kind of like talking about, I get asked a lot, like, how are you meeting these people? How do you get them on the podcast? And, if you look at like our social medias and stuff, you wouldn't think, but way back when, like 6 years ago now, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago, we were in the campus ambassadors program for two supplement companies. And you were on the optimum nutrition side of things, right? And I was on
Yeah.
the BSN side of things. So, long ways from there in terms of just where we are today. So, talk a little bit about like who you are and kind of what you do, and we can get into all the craziness.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously everything was that's where we met, right? We were
Yeah.
both in college. And I was very into fitness and I was a bodybuilder at the time and I was
Yeah.
repping on, which was like the best job for a college student who's like into fitness.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. And
I,
then COVID
I was the
hit.
plug for all of my friends nonstop. They would just come over to my house
Same.
and I had just boxes piled, like pallets full of just supplement samples for them.
I know, it was amazing. Like best job ever. But then COVID hit and they
Yep.
cut that program. So they cut Optimum Nutrition and then I got switched over to BSN, whatever. They were kind of doing it a little bit. But that's when everyone went home from college, including myself. And
Yep.
so I was at home just like everyone else and I had the idea for CharCharms, and it was really one of those like serendipitous things that I was drinking out of my water bottle, and I had the idea to like put a hook on a water bottle and like hang stuff off of it, and that spiraled into water bottle accessories and creating charms. And I bought a 3D printer. I got a job, like all still while finishing college, but I finished from the University of Illinois completely remote, so I never
Mhm.
went back to campus. Which probably for the better because like it allowed me to focus
Yeah.
100% on like building CharCharms, and I had to get a job to be able to fund CharCharms. And then I was also doing school because I needed to
Yeah.
graduate. So I literally like rented an office in the suburbs and paid $450 a month for like a year and a half. And like that's where I was from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. like every day.
Hmm.
And so during that time, that was like my senior year at the University of Illinois, I had launched CharCharms.com and we were doing like one sale a month, and then we'd get like two sales a month, and then it was like 1 to 2 sales a week. And like I was so excited for every single order that we got in.
Yeah.
But it was nice because like I was also focusing on school. I was also focusing on working. So like it's really hard when you build a business and like that's the only thing you have and you're just like
Yep.
praying that it works. But when you have other things going on, it doesn't seem like that horrible if you don't get a couple sales.
For sure.
So it started to grow very slowly. We were on Instagram and the whole thing, and yeah, it's grown a lot. We launched on TikTok, and now we are here today.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your job that you were working while you were finishing up college, that was in insurance, right? I think I remember you telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I remember we talked early on with CharCharms, and I'm not sure why you sought me out because you have done way more in ecom and been way more gone on to be way more successful than me ever in the ecom space. You have just absolutely crushed it. But you reached out. We did like a quick little Zoom call where I kind of just like gave you like literally that was all I knew at the time of just like, hey, here's Shopify basically, like this is what the platform everyone suggests, like you should be on here, and gave you like the little bit that I understood about social media and everything, and you just grinded, like you just watching you on your, and you do such a great job. Also, by the way, I want to give you your flowers on sharing your journey on social media, like sharing the stuff that people just don't think to share that others think are really cool, right? Like sharing the, I remember whenever I first saw you guys hit $100,000 in revenue in CharCharms, and you posted like, that's the stuff that people get nervous to share. And like, I've always felt like nervous to share, but other entrepreneurs and other people that want to do stuff like that, like thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Right.
Yeah.
And but you do a great job of just sharing the, like, this is what I'm doing every day, like day in and day out, and this is what here's the TikTok live that I just went on, and here's how much revenue I just generated for CharCharms. I'm doing this every day. Like this is, and I just want to give you your flowers on that, because I think it's awesome that you share so much. But you said you guys started on Instagram, right? And I remember us talking, that was like right when Reels had started.
Uh-huh.
And so we were talking about like
Yeah.
what we had learned with Reels at that point, because it was a brand new, like uncharted territory for everybody. You got into TikTok, and I remember watching you just like be super diligent with TikTok, and then TikTok started to take off for you guys. So what
Mhm.
what do you feel like TikTok has done for your company, for the brand?
Yeah. Well, let me back up a little bit
Okay.
from the TikTok and Instagram. So we started on Instagram, and like that was the slowest, most like painful growth
Yeah.
ever, like slowly climbing to 100 followers. Like if looking back on my Canva account from like the very early days, I'm like, oh my god, these are horrible. So
Yeah.
like you have to start horrible. Like everyone
You did.
starts horrible. It's just a matter of like doing it, and then slowly get better. And so I actually totally forgot about our call
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know how to like put in an order for someone on
Mm-hmm.
my end. And so I remember asking you that. I'm like, how do I do that? Like, how do I make the shipping free for them? Wow, what a throwback. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that. But yeah, so we started posting reels. They were terrible. And then I was like, I need to do TikTok. Like I finally kind of just made that decision to start trying it. But what happened was is like it was absolutely terrible for like 3 months. Like less than 100 views. Like some videos got like 50 views, which is
Yeah.
basically nothing. And so I hired a TikTok coach that I found on TikTok, and I paid
Mm-hmm.
this girl $2,000. Like when I tell you pro salesperson, I barely had $2,000. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how she sold me and how she closed me, but like I will give her kudos for that because she closed me. But it was one of those like TikTok coaching where it's like everyone joins one Zoom and like you
Okay.
ask questions. It's not like one on one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one thing that it taught me was being consistent and just trying a couple different angles to TikTok. But then I was like, I can't, like, this is not helping me anymore. And so I hired a friend who had recently started TikTok coaching, and it was like $300 a month. I'm like, perfect. And he had some results from some of our other friends that he worked with. I was like, all right, cool. Like, you got them to 20K. Let's see what we can do with CharCharms. And basically, it was just a matter of like, if I could start a business right now, it would be what he did for me, like
Yeah.
another business.
Yeah.
I have like 10 businesses I want to start, but
Yeah.
basically what people need is a coach in TikTok, just like they have a personal trainer for the
Yeah.
gym, because it's not a matter of the very like the details. It's a matter of like doing the work. Just like because you're in fitness, like we've both been in fitness. It's a matter of like going to the gym, walk 10,000 steps, like eat the foods.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. It's just a matter of like do every idea that you have and post 3 times a day. And
Mm-hmm.
so because I was paying him and because he was like continuing to like nudge me along on posting 3 times a day and like checking in on me, just like a personal trainer would, um, I grew from like 5,000 followers to 30,000 followers, and then to 40, and then to 70. And we were once we got to 70, like that was on my own. He took us to like 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just continued to do my own thing. But really, that was what took the brand to the next level was our TikTok
Mm-hmm.
account. And so why that happened was because I was sharing a lot of journey sort of videos and problem solving videos. Like those do really well for small businesses because people want to see like, oh my God, like what are the challenges that you're overcoming and how did you do it and what
Hmm.
was the outcome? And so like having a TikTok like that has that story arc, I think is so powerful because people can connect to it and then they want to see more. And so
Yeah.
then they'll follow you. Um, and so I just really kind of grew this passion for like doing TikToks, talking to other brands about their TikToks, like seeing how I could help other brands try to grow their TikToks because like that's what turned us into a business was like
Yeah.
the TikTok was what 100% fueling all of our direct to consumer sales. And it also was what got us noticed by Urban Outfitters and
Hmm.
Fox News. So because of that, we were on Fox because one of our viral videos. And then that was why Urban Outfitters reached out to us because they saw us on a trend report, which was huge. So, like, truly, TikTok does lead to a lot of potential success.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have really capitalized on that. And I mean, it goes back into you sharing the story of like yourself and you as an entrepreneur and like the journey behind the scenes from that perspective. You've done the same thing on the brand side. And so I've seen you go into, I remember a cool video where I saw you go into, it was either Target or Dick's or somewhere like that. And you were like measuring out or like rearranging the stuff to like, this is what like a CharCharms display would look like. And so I'm
Yeah,
trying to figure out like what that would look like so I can pitch them and see. And so that stuff is just so cool because it's not something you would typically think to post like for the average consumer of social media, but it's so cool to consume it because you can see somebody trying to do things that are just like big and that are just unorthodox and that are just would be cool things to accomplish, and you go out and you do them and you visualize them and then you actually go chase them down. So I think it's the
right.
coolest thing in the world. So I've got to ask, with all the TikTok stuff, what are your thoughts on the recent developments with like everything going through the House and then now going to the Senate? And
Yeah, I actually switched to Instagram as my main focus for the
okay,
last couple of months. And so I personally am not super concerned just because like I made that switch for the
perfect.
brand. I felt that like I enjoyed the Instagram algorithm more in
Okay,
just like as a consumer. And so I think whatever you enjoy more is where you should be creating. So like if you love YouTube, like that's where I believe you should create. If you love TikTok, that's where you should create. And so why I enjoyed it more was because like I can look at an Instagram video, see why that hook works, see why that like why the sound works for that video and like directly duplicate it for CharCharms, not
hmm,
in terms of content, but in terms of style. And so
okay,
like that's what created a lot of viral videos for us on Instagram, which led to conversions. But yeah, I mean like if TikTok gets banned, like whatever, like something new will pop up. It's not the end of the world. I
no,
think
yeah,
less than 99% of the population would really even care. And like, yeah, there are influencers on TikTok that like only make their money from TikTok. Well, hopefully they can switch to Instagram or YouTube and like continue to do their thing.
and
People,
diversify, yeah,
people, people who love a certain influencer like will follow them anywhere. So I don't think it would be the end of the world.
yeah. How are you guys using? And I want to kind of get into just like the nitty gritty of you guys's your story with Chart Charms and everything. But how
Mhm.
are you guys using today TikTok Shop, or are you guys using TikTok Shop?
So TikTok Shop is a funny story.
Okay,
I was very bullish on it for several months once people were like blowing up, and like I had a podcast that I was doing that where I was interviewing top TikTok
no, that's
creators.
your as a creator podcast, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a
Yep.
creator, I don't post on it anymore. We did 40 podcasts. I'm like, all right, I'm done. This isn't serving me anymore.
Okay.
But in that podcast, I interviewed a lot of people that were killing it on TikTok Shop. Um, Grace Marie Williams selling her slimes, Boss Up Cosmetics selling their lip oils, Elijah's Hot Sauce selling their hot sauces, and everyone was absolutely loving TikTok Shop. Yes, there are blips with TikTok Shop where TikTok Shop will just like cut your account for no reason. You have no idea.
Hmm.
But overall, it very positive. I tried it for CharCharms twice. Like I had to change my account to a business account and then launch on TikTok Shop. I think it was a matter of like we have so many SKUs. I don't think I chose the right ones. And the videos that I initially made pushing our TikTok shop didn't do well. And I think it's a matter of like, it does well or it doesn't. And for
Yeah.
us, it just didn't. And I think everyone should try it if you're willing to switch your account to a business account. But for us, like both times I tried it and it did not work. So I'm like, you know
Really.
what? Forget it. I'll go back to a personal account where you could use all the sounds, have all the freedom. But yeah, as we grow, if TikTok is still a thing, I'm just going to hire someone because like I don't want my face associated with the brand anymore. Like
Yeah.
that's a new shift as of this month as we're like launching nationwide in a couple different retailers. It just doesn't make sense for like, we're not a small business, we're a
Yeah.
company, and
Yeah.
companies shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a face behind them unless you're like Mr. Beast or
For sure.
I don't know who's the Prime guy.
Logan Paul.
Yeah, or like Logan
Mhm.
Paul, like or like the Jenners or Kardashians. I think it's just
Mhm.
different. So, me personally, I'm trying to shift away from that.
Gotcha. So, how do you, so with the name's going to stay the same then too, even though switching from, because obviously Charlotte, CharCharms.
I didn't name the company after myself. It just sounded good. Like
Really? Okay.
genuinely, yeah. Like people think I named it after myself, and like
That's just what I
what
assumed. Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds good. It's Char Charms. My name is Charlotte, which is like an
Yeah.
SH. It's
Yeah.
not Charlotte. So I think it just ended up sounding good. And that's what, like, I didn't name it to be my, like, the Charlotte brand. It's
Got it.
just, it was a
Yeah.
good name. So it'll stay
Yeah.
the same for now, unless it legitimately makes sense to change the name of the company to sell better.
Hmm. That makes sense. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I always just assumed that like Char was probably like your nickname, and so you just went with like Char Charms or something. So that's funny. But
Mhm.
that is something I think that you did it, I think, from the a harder perspective, right? So like whenever you see, and I tried to do the same thing. So usually whenever you see people launching e-commerce stuff, the really successful ones, the ones that are able to scale really quickly, are ones that have huge audiences already, and they're launching an e-commerce or some sort of business to monetize their already large following, right?
Mhm.
And so from your perspective, from what you did, you kind of built both personal brand and business brand from the ground up. So I feel like you've already kind of built. I mean, I know you're in a lot of the videos. You're the ones doing a lot of the interviewing because you do a lot of like IRL, like out interview type of, guerrilla marketing type stuff. Um, but that's interesting that's a push for you guys. Do you feel like you're too attached because you are the interviewee, that you are like the main character in most of the videos, or is it just because you want to have like 3 or 4 characters for a potential sale maybe down the line of the company, or what's the main push behind that?
I think it's I think it's not a matter of like having the characters anymore. I think it's a matter of like creating entertaining content that's
Got it.
around water bottles. And
Okay.
anyone can do that. I don't think there needs to be a face to it. Like there's so many accounts that don't have faces. And yeah,
Yeah.
maybe like we don't do interview style anymore. Like that was a huge growth for us. Like interview videos got us 20K followers. Like that was massive for us. There are certain series that like my face was in that got us thousands of followers. I think it can evolve and change over time, but I've always believed that like the strongest TikToks, the strongest TikTok pages are the ones that have like the same style of video for the entire page, because when
Yeah.
someone goes on your page it's like, oh, this girl only posts Stanley decorating videos, like I'm gonna follow her because like I want to see that. Or like this girl only posts kitchen organization. I don't want to see someone who posts like kitchen organization and then like yoga and then their food. Like when it's too mishmash, I don't
Yeah.
need, like I'm not gonna follow them because it's all random. So I think it's
Makes
like
sense.
finding a niche for CharCharms and then just like sticking to that. So we'll see what that
Yeah.
ends up being.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like Hormozy. He talks about either going super wide, and then once you do well going wide, going deeper from there, or going super deep and then widening out later on. So I think
Mhm.
that's probably the best. Is to not even talking about platforms, just on one platform. If you can do one type of video and get it really, really, really well, like build up the audience there, then you have a
Yeah,
little bit more freedom at that point to kind of try and diversify and do different types of
agreed.
content and let people into other areas of your life. So I think that's a fantastic point. So let's
Did I
let's
answer your
rewind the clock.
question?
No, you did.
Okay.
You talked about, the main question was just like, what is the drive behind you trying to remove your face from the brand? And
Mm,
you answered it. Talking about not necessarily even trying to have characters associated with the brand at all. It's just like you guys are doing great content around water bottles and accessorizing them. So
Yeah.
that you answered it 100%.
Okay.
Um, okay, so we talked about scaling on TikTok and everything. I want to take it back because I remember after we were doing that first call where we kind of like talked a little bit about you just setting up online. What did the early stages of the company look like, right? Like you're starting to post some stuff, you're getting a couple sales a week now, right? Like you set up an entire little like assembly line with your 3D printer like in the bottom of your parents' house, right? Is that where you started?
Yeah, that's where I started. And it basically is where I've been for the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So okay, the storyline continues. So
Yes.
I got a 3D printer. I'm in the basement. I'm like creating these little hook prototypes, and I realized I can't sell 3D printed hooks. So we started making them out of resin, and like that's how we were able to make them cute and sell them. And I started beading these little charms. I bought some chapstick holders, and like that was where I started to dabble with like Alibaba and
Yeah.
ordering there, and like seeing how bad can it really be ordering from China. Not bad. Like if you're ordering small quantities, really not bad at all. And so, God, I'm so thankful for like my Alibaba suppliers now because I've grown with them
Yeah.
literally for 2.5 to 3 years now, which has been amazing. But yeah, we my there was a ping pong table in my basement, and my dad was like so adamant that we're not taking it out because we never played ping pong, but like
Yeah.
he was like, we're not moving the ping pong table. And like one day he left. I'm like, I need the freaking space in the basement. And so I put together the ping pong table, like put it away and set up my fulfillment table there. And from then point on, like the entire basement was CharCharms. Like it just
Yeah.
started to grow, and we got more boxes and shelving. And I think he just became more accepting of the fact that like we're growing and like there are orders coming and there's traction. I think it's different if you're going to take over the basement and like be a bum, but that
Yeah.
was not the case
Yeah.
with CharCharms. So in the first year and a half, like I had high school girls from the neighborhood like coming over and packing orders with me. Like I would hire like friends of friends to come over and work for a couple hours and pack orders because I quickly understood the value of my time and what was it worth it what was my time worth, and
Yeah.
like what do I really want to spend doing. And so I've always tried to outsource order packing, assembly, like anything manual, because I need to be focusing on other things, not that. And even now, like now I'm at the point where like I don't touch any of that. I don't make any product. I don't assemble anything. I still am now overseeing it, but like that needs to be outsourced. There's a lot that I still am like very excited to continue to grow, but I still feel like I'm in the baby stages of my business. So, um, in 2023, we got an order from Urban Outfitters, and that was our first little touch into retail, which was very
Yeah.
fun. Couple $1,000s, like nothing crazy, but Urban Outfitters, like, oh my God. So we were really pumped. And I have pictures from that order, and we were like so overwhelmed. But I'm very lucky that everything happened very gradually because like I had not figured out my retail packaging. So like this was a really good test for me to see like, okay, what can we do? Like, how can we make this retail ready? And then we shipped out to be at Palmetto Moon, which is a southern based retailer. They have like 48 locations. We were in like 20 of them. So kind of like the next step up. And
Yeah.
that was again, like we had to level up our retail packaging because going from a smaller Urban Outfitters order, now we were in 15 stores. I needed to get down the assembly of the products, like how we were going to do this, how we were going to label them, like SKU numbers and UPC codes and all of
Yeah.
that. Luckily, both of these were like very easy in terms of shipping. Like Urban Outfitters, like there's no huge platform to go through. Palmetto Moon, they just freaking send you the labels. They're like, here, ship it to us. So like super
Hmm.
chill. And then I get a connection on LinkedIn from the Dick's Sporting Goods buyer. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is crazy. I remember the day, like it was like in the middle of winter. I'm like, oh my God. And so I remember just messaging her and being like, hey, like if there's anything I can help with, like let me know. And the next week we had a meeting. We started talking about a test for the holiday season. And they have, they gave us an order that they needed in like a month. And
Hmm.
that's like unheard of in
Yeah.
the retail space. Like usually you have like 3 months, 4 months, or 5, 6, sometimes you have 9 months to prepare for POs. But In this case, we had a month and we had to get everything together, and it was for initially 80 stores, and then 100. We were going to expand to 140 for the holiday season. So it was like three different shipments, and
Yeah.
it was very exciting. Like, that was the largest retail order that we've gotten. Dick's Sporting Goods is a big name. They were the biggest seller of Stanleys, and they still are the biggest seller of Stanleys in
Yeah.
retail. And so this was when Stanleys were blowing up. So they wanted to see, like, hey, what can we add in here that's going to be an upsell to our Stanley customer? We did really well. And it was great. And now we are going to launch nationwide at Dick's Sporting Goods this spring.
Wow.
So we are actually in the heat of it. So once we got that spring order from them, about a month and a half ago, I rented out a warehouse. So that's where I'm at right now. And
Hmm.
I am working on a folding table. It's a plastic and it's cheap, and everything here has been makeshift and just like thrown together so we can like make this thing work. And For the next 4 weeks, I've hired 8 different people to come in and work on shifts from
Yeah.
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. to assemble this PO for Dick's Sporting Goods. And I'm so excited. I'm very, very thankful for my buyer at
Yeah.
Dick's because she's amazing. Like, we have calls and it feels like I'm talking to a friend. So I think like being able to build those relationships with my buyers in like such a fun space, like if you're a buyer for hydration accessories, like you have to love cutesy stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
personality that you need. And so I've been very lucky to be able to work with amazing buyers. So yeah, we're shipping out in mid-April and I'm very excited for it. And then we'll do another launch in summer, and then we'll do a huge launch for holiday. And so it's just a matter of like, what can we do to what can we do to be the best partner for them and future retailers, and what can we do to make sure that like we are positioning ourselves on shelves as
Yeah.
the option for water bottle accessories that like looks good, stands out, like has a personality, but also goes along with their other assortment of products throughout Hydro Flask and Stanley and Owala and Yeti, and like is for the customer that is shopping in hydration and like loves to come back to the hydration space and see what's new and fun. And so we just want to be able to catch their eye. So there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, and there's going to be a lot of testing and trying new things. But luckily, like I can move fast
Yeah.
and I'm like willing to do anything to make it happen and make it work. And so, yeah, I've been here for like 12 hours a day for the last couple of weeks, and like we're making it happen.
Yeah. That is so sick. So to give people an idea of like when it comes to working with like a Dick's Sporting Goods, right? What you talk about 80 stores and then 150 stores, I think you said. What does that look like? Like what are the types of volumes that they're ordering per store? Are they expecting certain velocities from you guys as far as like moving specific amounts of product? What support do they expect from you in terms of marketing? Like how does all that stuff work?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with order volume.
Okay.
Um, Normally how it works is like you get an order and then you have like chase orders that you can expect um, every month afterwards to like fill in that sold product.
Got it.
How I've seen buyers do the math is however many SKUs you have times maybe 4 or 5 products per SKU, times how many per week that they'll sell,
Okay.
times the amount of weeks that it'll be in store. So like usually it's like 6 weeks or eight
Okay.
weeks that they'll have like a certain collection. So if you think about if you have one SKU, and I would never want to sell one SKU in retail. Like
Yeah.
if I'm going to go in retail, like I want to have at least a couple pegs so that like
Yeah.
people are like, oh, what's that brand? Like they have a brand. And so you kind of just like put those numbers together and you have a couple different options for numbers, and you can assume high, you can assume low, and then you can assume medium. And I
Mhm.
do those projections for every potential order that we get. So like I just have it all in a spreadsheet and I say this is the lowest outcome that could possibly happen, and then this is the highest outcome that could possibly happen. And there's
Got
different
it.
types of math to go about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, in general, that's how I would look at it.
Got it. And so are they expecting specific velocities from like somebody that they bring in, or that we want to move 2 units a week, we want to move 4 units? Obviously, they want the highest amount, but like, is there a specific threshold they're hoping or wanting you to hit?
They've never, so at Dick's Sporting Goods, for example, like we're a new product to them.
Yeah.
They don't even have good sales reads on us. Like we've been in for basically half a holiday, which is
Okay.
like not enough to understand like what a full year would look like. It's on the buyers to tell us what they think is going to sell. And a
Okay.
lot of buyers want us to be able to tell them, but for a category that's new, it's really hard to tell. Um, Especially if you've never been in retail before. So usually my buyers are trying to figure out like, okay, we think we should order this many based on, how many of a different but similar product is selling.
Understood.
And
Okay.
so that's mostly on them. But as you progress and as you go along, you can start you'll start to see patterns, and like patterns are beautiful because they
Yeah.
repeat, and that's where you can start to have projections and see like where can we grow, where can we scale back, where can we try to get better deals with our suppliers because it just makes sense to. So it's really a matter of figuring it out and going on the fly. And there are a lot of people that have gotten retail orders and they think that they're going to get those chase orders for following months and they never get them. So like
Yeah.
I never rely on POs that I don't have yet. If I don't have the PO in hand, there is no PO.
Yeah. That makes sense. So what do
Yeah.
you guys do to, I mean, I've seen some of your content where you talk about like going, like just walking into a Dick's and going to maybe where you guys are at, right? Um, what do you do to support a huge rollout like that to make sure that your customer base knows they can find you there?
Yeah, I'm doing consistent videos like every
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
It's like if that's your partner or you have multiple partners that are huge, you are now supporting them
Hmm.
more than you need to support like your own direct to consumer. And
Yeah.
eventually, like I'll get to the point where CharCharms will be so big, it'll just be like it makes sense for customers to go in store, or they have different options online. I think that happens eventually in the long term, but as soon as we roll out at Dick's, so for the spring order, I'll be in there taking videos. I was very thankful that after our holiday order, we posted a video literally 1 week after it all launched and it got like 10 million views. And
Wow.
like I sent that to Dick's and they're like, wow, like this is crazy. And so they saw that and all the other videos that I did that went viral around Dick's Sporting Goods and Stanley accessories.
Yeah.
And so they use that now for their marketing in terms of like internally. They'll be like,
Yeah.
look at CharCharms marketing. Like, this is why we should continue them. So, because of our marketing tactics and like our success marketing the products within Dick's Sporting Goods, that's for sure a huge reason why they will continue to carry our products.
Wow. That's awesome. With all that being said, and with your growth and everything in terms of expanding that relationship with Dick's, as far as when you're bringing on more like Dick's Sporting Goods level players, right? Does it scale to where you're making like 30 videos a day and they're just rolling out eventually over, like you have Target coming in and Walmart coming in and Dick's coming in? Like, how do you support multiple partners at once? Or is that what you're talking about when you get to a certain scale? It's just kind of like people just expect you to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like let's say in a year from now when we're in several different retailers, it's just a matter now of creating good content and
Yeah.
saying like you can find us in all the, like just go to our store locator, right?
Yeah.
Because like if there's a new food, I think about Midday Squares. They're one of like my favorite brands. They do a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
I had their founder on my podcast, Jake Carls, and like
Mhm.
they're in so many retailers. They're in Costco and they're in Whole Foods, and so they'll make videos for when they launch in a certain retailer, but then after that, like it's just sprinkled in and then they're just making good content around their brand.
Mhm.
And you want to find where you can buy the products because I'd rather buy like 5 little chocolate squares than like a 30 pack. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a matter of like what option would you prefer? But yeah, eventually I won't even be making the TikToks. Hopefully in a
Yeah.
year that'll be someone else.
Yeah. So circling back to your time, you talked about even from the very beginning, you realized kind of what your time was worth and how you optimized, bringing in other people and leveraging other people's time. How do you, what do you feel like your time is like? What are the high leverage activities for you that you spend your time on as the founder and kind of the driver of the needle?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with what I try not to do.
Okay.
Um, how I've hired, quote unquote, that's in air quotes because I haven't really hired anyone.
Okay.
I've had a lot of interns over the last year, and I'm so proud. If someone asks me what my proudest moment is with building this company, it's because it's essentially having a lot of interns.
Yeah.
And last year in 2023, we had 30 interns. This year, we are at 7, and that we just hire on like 3 different trimesters. So we have spring, summer, and winter.
Got it.
And so usually what I outsource to interns is like Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, influencer management, accounting, photography coordinators, product development, graphic design, things like that that like aren't life or death for the company right now.
Yeah.
And we're still at that stage where like we can make mistakes and then like no one notices. Like if it's a mistake, we
Mhm.
just archive it or delete it or change it. Like it is not the end of the world if
Yeah.
a mistake is made. And so I feel very comfortable leaning on interns who I trust and have good relationships with and enjoy working with, and who want to work at CharCharms. Like most of our interns are emailing us being like, I love this product. I saw you guys are hiring for interns. Like, can we join the team? Like, how do I do this? And so I'm very lucky to have that sort of passion, but I can't have 30 interns every year forever. And so now what I want to outsource this year, so in September, my goal is to hire an operations person to help me manage all ops in terms of um, inventory, purchasing, finances, making decisions when it comes to products and margins, and then managing large orders and shipments, basically like all of the behind the scenes stuff, and also building systems. Like I am not that great at building systems and like staying organized with like the physical products. And so I think that's really like just to like clean up at the end of the day. Like it's always been very difficult. Like sometimes I'll just like take something out, do it quickly, and then like everything stays out, and then like slowly those messes add
Yeah.
up. So like that's a fault of mine that I know I can get better at, but I'd rather just hire someone to help put those systems in place so
For
that
sure.
yes, every time you create a bead or every time you put a little lobster claw on a pom pom, like everything has its place. We have a set of steps, and even if it takes longer to do that system, it still stays organized.
Yeah.
So I definitely want that. And then I also want to hire a marketing manager, because I've had so many marketing interns. Like out of those 30 interns last year, like 15 of them were marketing interns. And
Okay.
so the beautiful part is like I've learned how to coach the marketing aspect, and I also know what to look for in a good marketing person because I've done it and I've taught so many people how to do it. So I think at this point, I think that would be an amazing person to hire. It's just a matter of finding someone who's passionate and willing to work for a startup. And yeah, so those are the two. And then from there, I have no idea. Maybe I'll probably hire like a warehouse manager full time who might be the girl that I have part time right now. And I'll just kind of like put her to full time,
Yeah.
and then start building a team. Like I want to hire someone to do promotional products and manage that, slash events and like manage trade shows and stuff because like we have to do that. Um, and then yeah, so and then maybe someone's even like manage licensing because I really really want to do licensed products. Like
Yeah.
imagine having a bottle boot and it's like Disney or like the
Exactly.
NFL or
Yeah.
whatever. So
And that's big
I
in the
think there's a
space
lot of
too.
potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the hydration space, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
100%. So one of my professors that actually helped me with the early launch of Eubora, from back whenever I was going to OU was Mike Beckham, the owner of Simple Modern. Um,
You know him?
yeah, I know him. But yeah, he and we'll text every once in a while just to catch up on how everything's going. Simple Modern is a fantastic company. I'd be happy to make the intro because he loves young entrepreneurs like doing stuff. So he would be a fantastic contact. But they do a lot of stuff in licensing.
Um, if I had to choose one founder to follow and listen, it would be Mike Beckham. And I have a lot of founders that like I follow and I enjoy their content. Mike Beckham is my favorite. I've listened to every podcast of
His
his. Mike
podcast is
Beckham, if
so
you're
good.
listening to this, I literally would die to have a conversation with you. But yeah, no, he's great. He's built an amazing brand.
Yeah, his podcast is so good.
Mhm.
Just talking to the, like, he really is like that in person too. Like, he's super calm. The way that he approaches every problem is just like, it's so unique in the way that he just sees it. But also just in terms of like, you don't ever see the guy get like worked up. Like, he just has it, the way that he just like presents himself is like he's seen it all before, and like, hey guys, like, this is how do you think we should approach this problem? Like, this is how we should proceed. And then he just like conquers that. Like, it's just crazy. Um, but yeah, I'd be happy to make the intro. I think I think you guys would really get along.
Mhm.
Um, okay. One thing that I like to do on the podcast is I'll throw out, excuse me, I'll throw out like a quote. Okay. And I like to have my guest like consider the quote basically and give me their take on it. One
Okay.
quote that I pulled for particularly for you and your journey and all the things that I've just observed about you over the years is this one, and I'd love to hear your feedback. So, growth is not automatic. If you're gonna grow, you got to grow on purpose. I'd love to know what you think about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more. I am constantly telling certain people in my life that like you have to choose to push yourself and like choose to watch the YouTube videos that are oriented towards where you want to go. But most importantly is who you choose to surround yourself with. And there is nothing more important than the people that you interact with on a daily basis, because you are who you hang out with and you are who you talk to and who you listen to. And I think that's one of the largest factors in whether you're going to grow or not. And I know a lot of people who hang out with friends that are just like happy where they are. And like that
Yeah.
is amazing. And I'm so happy for them. But like you're not going to grow with that sort of group. So I'm very bullish on saying like choose your friends that
Mm-hmm.
are also growing. And like you can choose your friends. And a lot of people have had friends that like are kind of like friends that are just like built in, right? Like from sports and school
Yes.
and classes. And it's really easy to like stick with that crew. But sometimes it's not the best crew for you. And so I've gotten into the habit of like, I will just DM people on Instagram and like, hey, like, let's get together. I see what you're doing and I think it's awesome. Would love to get coffee or meet up or have a Zoom. And like, slowly you start to craft new friendships. And like, that's where you see your friends growing, and like you just naturally want to continue that and like also be growing with them and share exciting things. So love
Yeah.
that. It's definitely something that you can take action on.
Absolutely. And it's I mean, kind of what you're alluding to is the whole, show me the four closest people around you and I'll show you your future, right? and
Mhm.
and that is a big part of it, is if you're able to seek out even just one mentor that has done or is doing the things that you want to do in your life, it can kind of like show you the blueprint. And if nothing else, it kind of just solidifies subconsciously for you that like that is possible because I'm around somebody that's done it or is doing it.
Mhm.
So I think that makes your future and your desired outcomes a lot more magnetic, just surrounding yourself around people that are doing those types of things. Um,
Agreed.
okay. And something around the growing on purpose, I guess, arena that I've observed a ton in your story. And I know you've tried 3 or 4 times now. Tell everyone about Shark Tank.
Okay, yes. Shark Tank has been an amazing journey so far. And it is one of those things that like you can either get it on your first time or it takes multiple times. So I first auditioned, I did an online submission and I got to the video submission part early 2023 and I didn't move forward. And so I'm sorry, that was probably late 2021. Didn't move forward. And so I decided to go in person to Indianapolis for season 15 and audition in person. This was open casting call. You line up at like 3 a.m. I have videos on my TikTok of like the whole thing. And you walk up to one of the casting producers and you give your 1 minute pitch and they say, okay, thank you. And like you either never hear from them again or you move forward. Now, if you don't know about the Shark Tank process, it's a several month long process and you can be cut at any time without any reason and you will never know. So it's basically like there's several steps. So the first step is just like a basic audition or like your online submission, and then you have to fill out paperwork and a audition tape. And so that's where it's like 5 to 8 minutes. You basically do what it looks like when you watch one of the YouTube videos of
Yeah.
Shark Tank. And I filmed mine like literally right here in our warehouse. And you submit that. And then you either hear back a month later or you don't. If you do, you start working with like an actual producing team. And so they start to put together your pitch and what it'll look like and your background. And so throughout this whole process, like they're still making decisions like, do we really like her? Like, do we think she's going to make a good pitch or not? Um, Once you get through that whole process of like actually crafting what it's going to look like, you potentially move forward and film on Shark Tank. 120 people film, and filming is in June and then September. 90 air. And when I mean film, like it's the real, like it's the thing. Like you're on
Yeah.
Shark Tank, like
Yeah. Yeah.
the sharks are there, you're doing the filming process. There are people who I know have been called to LA to film and they're on standby for weeks. And
Yeah.
like they're just because like Shark Tank, they're just deciding, like, do we want to get them or not? So like it's really kind of like cutthroat, honestly. Like it's
Yeah.
really intense. The statistic is that it's harder to get on Shark Tank than it is to get into Harvard. I don't know if that's true, but I would
Sure it
like to
is.
believe it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a process. And then even once you film, you might not air. And so you just are waiting until 2 weeks before your air date. They'll say, hey, you're airing, get ready. And so you have 2 weeks. And it's like, what can you do? You can't do anything. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Odds are you can't ship extra products to your retailers by that in that short of notice. Maybe you can get a couple extra hands on deck at your warehouse or 3PL to like be prepared for the influx of orders. But people
Yeah.
get millions of dollars once they air. It's a massive sales day for them. So, yeah, it's a crazy process. And the thing is, like, maybe you get 100,000 or 200,000 views on the YouTube. Maybe you get, 50 or 60,000 people watching it airing. Like, realistically, you can easily get that many eyes on your brand through a couple viral TikToks. Very easy to do that. But there's something to be said about like the watching someone talk about their whole journey and seeing what the sharks think. So
Yes.
personally for me, it's kind of just like I don't think we've ever been ready as a brand until now. And the first two times I pitched, it was more so like, I just really want to be on Shark Tank. Versus now, I think it actually makes sense for us to be on Shark Tank.
That's so sick. Yeah. And I think that's something that you've done a great job documenting each time and talking about the process and what it looks like. And it's just something that not a lot of people even have the guts to do. And to your point about like what happens if you actually do air, there's a lot of people part from what I've heard, there's a lot of people that it seems like get on there not even for the purpose of getting a deal. A lot of times it is for that sales day. Like I know through the friend of a friend, somebody that went on there for a women's fitness apparel line like 5 or 6 years ago, and they said that the website literally crashed and they sold out of all inventory during the episode in like 10 minutes. Um, and it's just because like, again, you never will you have that much of a chance to just captively have so many eyes on your brand and indoctrinate them in like what you've done and who you are and get them to fall in love with you and your company and how hard you've worked and all that. That's just it's a super cool format. But I think that's a cool part of your story that I just am I think is the coolest thing ever, that you just, even with all the things that you're doing, throwing in Shark Tank and going to auditions to be the first person in line and staying overnight there to just be the first person seen, and documenting that was so cool to see that. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. If I air, you will know about it. I
All
think
right.
everyone will know about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. If I don't get on this year, I will try one more time next year. And then
Yeah.
after that, I probably won't need to anymore. But
Mhm.
I would love to do Shark Tank. And so
Yeah.
I will try again next year if I don't make it this year.
That's so sick. That's so sick. I have no doubts that you'll
Thank
do
you.
it just like you have everything else that you've kind of set your mind to. Um,
Thank you.
I had two more things left for you. So I had one more quote, and then I want to
Okay.
talk a little bit, so a few actionables just about content in general. So this other quote, I actually talked about it on my last episode, the episode right before you, but I think it really aligns with how you've perceived like you talked about your slow growth, right, and how you're kind of happy that you didn't grow like super fast like overnight. Um, so this quote, it talks about first downs versus touchdowns. Okay. So it talks about the
Mm.
concept of you don't really want touchdowns, you want first downs. Because if you collect enough of those, then you get the touchdown, right? But if you judge your, ability or your success off of getting a touchdown every single play, then you and your team will always think that you're failures every time that you don't get a touchdown, right? So talk about why you have looked for these small opportunities for growth rather than always going for just the big one and measuring your success off of getting a touchdown every play or not.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for growth, whether they're big or small. And there's a whole priority list that I have. And so if one does not work out, or like if those big touchdowns, like the big things, if something happens there, or we're done, we did that touchdown, like there's always going to be other opportunities. Like I have so many new channels that I want to expand into that are just like easy and small, but like they add up, and
Yeah.
it makes they're all such, like all the small things are like such learning experiences too. Like every first down is a different play, right? Is that
Yeah.
football? I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
thing, right? Okay, yeah. So let's continue along this analogy of like every first down is a different play, which means every play that you do, like you're strengthening that, or you're trying
Mm-hmm.
something new, and you're using different players, and different players are doing different things. And I think that's where you grow as a founder.
Mm-hmm.
And as a business team. I don't really have a business team yet, and I'm excited to, but as a founder, for the first time ever, I worked with like a real graphic designer to do the packaging for our latest order. And like for the first time ever, I'm hiring a warehouse team to do orders, but like for like little first downs and stuff, for the first time ever, like maybe I'm launching a kids product for a more kids focused channel that like I've never done before, but
Yeah.
it's tiny, and maybe it's a 100 or 200 units, but like it's new and it's different. So I think like being able to say yes to the little things, and the opportunities that like aren't like the opportunity of a lifetime, but is still a place for you to grow and learn and just like gain new experiences. I think that's
Yeah.
where the benefit really is.
I love that. I love that take. Okay. From
Wait,
for
question. Was that take similar to the guy that was before me?
it was actually my sister before you, and
Oh,
she had a
really?
very similar one. Yeah. Just about like making sure her take was kind of along the lines of, I mean, same stuff, but talking about like in terms of weight loss, right? Because her and I do have the personal training company together. So she loaded it to or equated it to like the client that wants to lose 100 pounds, right? If you look at the big goal of 100 pounds, it's overwhelming. It can be discouraging, right? It can seem just like a huge, daunting task. And if you lose 5 pounds this month, then that might be disappointing to you, right? But when you realize that a fast pace of weight loss is a pound a week on average, right? Then you're like 5 pounds this month. I'm ahead of schedule, right? Like
Hmm.
within a year and a half or 2 years, I should be there. Like this is happening. I'm on track. So when you look at it as I got to lose a pound every week, then it's not near as daunting, right? It's a lot easier, and that's a lot more manageable just over time to just be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my plan, 1 pound per week. And it just is a lot easier to accomplish. It keeps people also sane too, because if you're just looking at that daunting goal, then every month that you don't lose 30 pounds and get 30% of the way to your goal, you feel like a failure. You feel like you're not doing enough. You feel like you're not succeeding en route to that goal. So
That's
both of you guys
interesting.
had
Yeah.
fantastic takes.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because like I don't look at I mean, I think weight loss is one of those things that's like, dang, like if it doesn't happen, you're like, oh frick, like I'm not making any progress. I think it's really hard in business terms to like not lose weight, aka like
Hmm.
not make progress. I think
Yeah,
like you have to be doing literally nothing to not make any progress in your
yeah,
business. Um, so I feel like in a business sense, like it's almost difficult to not lose any weight slash make progress. Only if you're a doer. Like you could be super fit and just like whatever, struggle with dieting or struggle with doing like the cardio. I don't know. I feel like that's a very interesting comparison though. Okay,
yeah,
sorry. I'll let you continue. Different
yeah.
thoughts.
No, 100%. It's I equated it to the business sense in terms of like a lot of people they want to hit six figures in their business, right? When you think of making $100,000 and you're starting at zero, that can be overwhelming. But if you're like, I got to make a little bit over 8 grand this month, right? Or make my average 8 grand a month, then you're going to be there, right, at the end of the year. So, yeah, different strokes for different folks for sure. It's that analogy. I think I just think that looking at it in that perspective puts it in, it just helps people to understand that you don't have to, for a baseball analogy, you don't have to hit a home run every play, right? If you're hitting a single every play, then you're going to score just fine, right, by everybody hitting
Mm-hmm.
singles. And so, anyways, um, social media. I wanted to get your take because I feel like you just have so much expertise in the social media realm. I know you've talked to, like you said, 40 different creators that have a ton of expertise. What are some of your best social media tips? It could be TikTok, it could be Instagram now, since you're more leaned in Instagram. A lot of the people that listen to this podcast are entrepreneurs, are trying to build some sort of a personal brand. What would be your best tips for starting out with a good, strong personal brand on social media?
Ooh, okay. Let me think about this actually. My biggest tips for personal brand or just like brand in general.
Either one, whatever you want to, whatever you feel called to talk about.
The first thing that comes to mind is to throw out the idea of like your brand guidelines and what that looks like for you. I think
Okay.
there's, especially on TikTok, like I think on TikTok, you have the opportunity to do anything you want and everything you want, and no one will remember. Like,
Hmm.
that's the beautiful part. We For example, I had this very thought of like, oh, I don't know if this is on brand when we posted a Stanley being filled with cane sauce, like the
I saw that.
orange, and dipping a Cane's chicken finger in it. Um, and it did phenomenally well. It got like 1.5 million views on TikTok and like over 500,000 views on Instagram. And like when I was posting that, I was thinking like, dang, I don't know if this is on brand for CharCharms because we're like very cutesy. Our
Yeah.
audience loves Stanley. They love pink and glitter. And I was like really nervous on how it would make our brand look. But it's like no one's gonna remember that video in a week. Like
Yeah.
they'll hate on it now. We'll get the views, and like that'll be it. And I think views are good, but converting to followers is probably the best thing that you can do. And that video did not convert to that many followers, but that's because everything else on our page is like cutesy. If we had been
Yeah.
posting filling Stanleys with like ranch sauce and marinara and dipping, breadsticks in it, maybe it would do better. Just like us growing our following, if we could stay consistent to that, which maybe we will. But I think throwing out brand guidelines and trying everything and anything to see what sticks, and then whatever does stick, double down on that and like focus on that, is probably like my biggest tip to people
Got it.
as they're growing social media followings.
I love that. What type of volume do you feel like people should start with, or even maybe maintain whenever they first start posting on one platform, or maybe each platform?
Minimum once a day if you want to grow, and actually try 3 times a day.
Okay.
So, like, if you are a business owner, your number one opportunity is social media because you don't have to spend any money, especially if you don't have money for paid advertising, or like you don't know about paid ads and like how to run good paid ads. Um, you should be spending most of your time on social media and creating content. So, I, when I was in that phase of like working with that TikTok coach, my friend,
Yeah.
I was posting 3 times a day, every day for 3 months. And like
Hmm.
that was what helped me learn and grow and like see what did well and see what doesn't do well. And like whatever doesn't do well, okay, you just don't do it again. And
Yeah.
whatever does do well, you continue that series. So I think 3 times a day is doable. 1 time a day to like maintain slash grow is good. But if you can hire a marketing person to do short term or short form video, the expectation should be 3 to 4 videos a day on TikTok, converting one of those, maybe two of those onto Instagram, and then the same thing, 1 to 2 on YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, and yeah.
Gotcha. So with Instagram and Facebook, are you posting on Instagram and having it shared to Facebook, or are you posting on each platform individually?
Yeah, I post on each platform individually.
Got it. Yeah, I've heard that that performs better too,
Mm-hmm.
by actually segmenting that out. And there was something else that you said. Oh, repurposing the content. So you think it's fine having content across multiple platforms that is the same or similar? How do you
Yeah.
make it look like the native content on that platform? Because I've heard that's important as well.
Yeah, I used to not. So I used to just like download straight from TikTok with savetic.cc. That's like the Go
Yep.
website. And that saves it without the watermark. And then you could just post it everywhere. Instagram is the only one that I would potentially try to make it for Instagram, but like people love TikTok text. Like
Mhm.
there's something about the TikTok font that people just like.
Yeah.
But now what we're starting to do is like I'll just save the video before I put TikTok text on it and then upload it to YouTube with YouTube text, Facebook with Facebook text. I don't know how much it really matters. Like we had
Yeah.
plenty of videos on YouTube go viral with TikTok text. Videos still are. I think the worst thing you can do is overthink it just like that. Like if
Yeah.
you're going to overthink like, "Oh my god, this isn't doing well because I'm not using the original fonts for the like no, you're overthinking it. Your videos just suck. Like make
For
better
sure.
video."
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. Okay. Last question that I have for you. I ask every guest that comes on the podcast. What are you, Charlotte, going to accomplish by any means necessary in your life?
In my life,
In your life, in your business, wherever you want to take that one. I just leave it open.
wow. Okay, I was preparing for like in the year.
Okay. We can talk about the year if you want to do that. If you're looking for the short term, what you want to accomplish.
Okay, I'll do both. I'll do
Okay.
this year. This year we're going to launch nationally at Dick's. It's already happening, and we'll launch nationally at another retailer.
Okay.
Um, in my life, I will be on Shark Tank twice. Like I want to be on Shark Tank not once, but like I want to be on Shark Tank twice. And
That's
in my
awesome.
life, I want to launch another large retail brand that's a category creator, just like water bottle accessories. And I also want to be the CEO or CMO of like a Fortune 500 company because I feel like that'd be sick. It's
Yeah.
like it's kind of like I just know that I'm CEO material or like
Yeah.
CMO material. And so that's something that I think is just it's gonna happen. It's just like maybe when I'm 50. Like it'll
Yeah.
happen eventually. But oh, and I will build a library. Like I love libraries. So if I could donate in any way, it would be by like building a sick library somewhere cool. It's kind of like a weird passion. So
Yeah. That's
that's
awesome.
kind of what I want to accomplish in my life.
That's so sick. That's awesome. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. I have no doubts that you're going to accomplish all those things. So
Thank
everything that you
you.
set your mind to, you work extremely hard until it's come to fruition. So, Charlotte, I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy and you got a lot of stuff going on with where you guys are at and kind of the growth curve that you're on. So I appreciate your time and we'll have to have you on again towards the end of the year and see where you're at on those goals. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Baker.
Thanks, Charlotte. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Bamcast. It means more to me than you will ever know. I hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Charlotte just like I did. She is just a killer, and I'm sure you noticed that if you listened to the episode. So, if any part of this episode resonated with you or you felt like it could benefit somebody else, the only way that the show is going to grow is if you just share it. So, sharing the entire episode or even just a timestamp that you want someone to listen to can really help in terms of helping us get the show to more people. If you want to look at any of Charlotte's stuff, I've got it all linked down below, including CharCharms and all of the different websites and links and social medias involved with her or the brand itself. If you want to support me or the show on a deeper level, you can also find all of my links down below with AR Funnel, Ubora Fitness, the BAM Coalition, and more. If you have any special guests or anybody that you'd like to see on the show, or even any topics that you'd like to see discussed on the show with some of my friends and family episodes, I'd love to hear them. So feel free to leave a comment on YouTube. I'll be reading those and responding to those just as I always have. And again, I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again.